Sleep paralysis. When the mind wakes, but the body stays frozen. Waking up inside a trap. Imagine this. You wake up, your mind flickers back to life, but your body doesn't follow. You can't move a finger. You can't shout. Your chest feels crushed by something invisible and heavy. And then you see it. A silhouette in the corner. A figure standing by your bed. Something that shouldn't exist. This isn't a nightmare. This is sleep paralysis. A borderland between dreaming and wakefulness, where the brain manufactures its own terror. Today, we're stepping into that liminal zone, where science meets ancient fear and neurophysiology tries to explain old demons. Chapter 1. What happens inside the brain? Every night, your brain cycles through different stages of sleep. One of them is REM sleep, the stage of rapid eye movement where the most vivid dreams are born. And here's the strange part. During REM, the brain literally shuts your body down. The brainstem disables your motor neurons, a protective mechanism to keep you from acting out your dreams in real life. But sometimes the timing fails. Your consciousness wakes up before the paralysis switches off. You're fully aware, but your muscles are still locked in place. Total immobility with a clear mind. It lasts seconds, sometimes minutes, but in that state, time stretches into something unnatural. And this is only the beginning, because paralysis rarely comes alone. Chapter 2. Shadows at the edge of perception. Most people who experience sleep paralysis don't describe just immobility. They describe a presence. Some see a dark figure standing in the corner. Others feel something pressing down on their chest, stealing their breath. Some hear whispers, footsteps, scraping sounds. But why does the brain conjure these specific visions? When you can't move, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, lights up and triggers an alarm. Your brain tries to interpret the source of that threat. In that half-dreaming state, before logic kicks in, it falls back on primal imagery, to symbols from the collective unconscious, shadows, predators, the things that stalked our ancestors in the dark. Your brain builds a story to explain the paralysis, and that story is almost always drenched in fear. Chapter 3. Science, Myth, and the Night Visitors. For centuries, people explained sleep paralysis as a visitation by supernatural beings. In Scandinavia, it was the Mara, an evil spirit that sits on the sleeper's chest. In Japan, it was Kanashibari, the metal-binding curse of a restraining demon. In Egypt, the explanation was jinn. In Slavic folklore, the domovoi, or the night hag. Different cultures, different names. Yet the descriptions are strikingly similar. Modern neuroscience explains this through the universality of the human brain. Sleep paralysis triggers the same brain regions in all of us. Fear, immobility, hallucinations. These are biological constants. Mythology is humanity's attempt to name the things the brain creates on its own. The demons of sleep paralysis are real, but they don't live in your room. They live inside your neural circuits. Chapter 4. When the brain sees fear. But why fear? Why doesn't the brain produce pleasant hallucinations instead? The answer lies in evolution. For our ancestors, waking up unable to move could signal real danger, poison, illness, or a predator closing in. A survival-oriented brain automatically interprets the unknown as a threat. Better to see danger where there is none than fail to notice it once when it's real. Sleep paralysis is an ancient alarm system firing inside a safe bedroom of the 21st century. And here's the unsettling part. The more you fear sleep paralysis, the more likely it is to happen again. Anxiety becomes the trigger. Chapter 5. Visual hallucinations in sleep paralysis. Why people see dark figures. First, hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations. These occur at the boundary between sleep and wakefulness. The brain hasn't fully woken up and continues generating imagery from the subconscious, which feels completely real. Second, misinterpretation of bodily sensations. During paralysis, pressure or tingling sensations are interpreted by the brain as a presence, a being standing nearby or touching you. Third, fear and anxiety. Sleep paralysis triggers intense negative emotions, which project themselves onto whatever you see. Fourth, neural misfiring. Temporary miscommunication in the brain during the transition from sleep to wakefulness can generate unusual visuals. Most often, the dark figures are perceived as demons, ghosts, or supernatural entities. This is tied to archetypal fears embedded deep in the human subconscious. It's important to remember these hallucinations are not real and pose no danger. They exist only within the mind and disappear the moment the episode ends. Chapter 6. The mechanism behind auditory hallucinations in sleep paralysis. The neurophysiological basis. First, hyperactivation of the amygdala. The limbic system, the brain's threat and fear center, switches into high gear. During paralysis, the brain interprets immobility as danger. An ancient survival program activates the freeze response. Second, disrupted sensory processing. The thalamus misfires and fails to filter sensory input correctly. Everyday internal sounds, blood flow, breathing become distorted. The brain fills in the missing information with its own predictions. Third, REM intrusion. Fragments of dreams leak into waking consciousness. The auditory cortex generates phantom noises. Why are the sounds threatening? The evolutionary threat. Hypothesis. In the context of helplessness, the brain searches for a cause. Ancient logic kicks in. If I can't move, something dangerous is here. A built-in negativity bias amplifies threatening interpretations. Typical sounds reported: footsteps, scraping, whispers, breathing, usually approaching, buzzing or humming, often linked to brief vestibular disturbances. The psychological component. Fear amplifies itself, a vicious feedback loop. Cultural expectations shape what people think they're hearing. Past experiences create recurring perceptual patterns. Essential point. This is a natural, if frightening, neurophysiological state. It is not a sign of mental illness. Chapter 7. How to escape the horror. So, you wake up in sleep paralysis. What do? First, don't panic. Stay calm and try to focus on moving your eyes or the tips of your fingers. This helps reactivate the motor neurons and slowly brings your body back online. Second, breathe deeply and steadily. Anchor your attention to your breath to pull focus away from the hallucinations. A long exhale signals to the brain there is no danger. And finally, try to make any sound. Even a faint groan or a cough can wake up the motor circuits and help you regain control. Don't be afraid. You will break out of the paralysis. Millions of people experience it. Now you know what to do when it happens again. Finale. Awakening. Inside the dream. Maybe sleep paralysis isn't the brain's mistake. Maybe it's a moment when the veil lifts, and for a second we glimpse the machinery of consciousness itself. we are not just the sleeping body, and not merely the frightened mind. We are the observer between them, a shadow waking inside the dream. Everyone who has felt sleep paralysis has looked into the space between worlds, between impulse and movement, between image and reality. Where control ends, awareness begins. And perhaps the fear that freezes us is really an invitation to awaken,